first of all, one thing on Northern Iowa. How did your impressions immediately after the game, how'd they hold up when you put on the film against Northern Iowa, good or bad?
Well, I think, the parts that, I thought our hustle was really, really good. The things that you see, I think defensively, the hustle was really, really good, and I thought we were good, especially in the red zone, in terms of the situational part of football. Until the back half of the fourth quarter. I think we need to be a little better we got to be better in the open field, on that side. And I thought offensively we had scoring drives. Now we had some mistakes, when you go forward that, have to get corrected, to have illegal procedure penalties and for the ball to be on the turf. Those are things that we're going to work on each day. Not that we don't already.
And as far as Colorado goes, is it a 50-50 split when you talk about preparing for their two quarterbacks, as they're not committed to who's going to play against you guys? And you'll probably see both, right? Or at least
that's the plan, and both are extremely talented. I mean, you do look when they came out of high school, those guys could have gone to a bunch of places. And they're high-level recruits, and understandably so. Tremendous mobility out of one that still throws a good ball, and the other one extremely accurate, really, really strong arm.
And flipping it, looking at the size that CU has on their defensive front, especially their defensive line, how difficult is that for your offensive line that's a little bit smaller to get that leverage that they need to spring the runners?
Yeah, to say that's a challenge wouldn't be stating it enough. I mean, just, this is a really, really hard matchup for us. I mean, it is, and I think especially when you look at our offensive line with their defensive front. I mean, how big they are. They were extremely stout and disruptive. Their front was the other night too. They were on the field there for a bit, and but they are large. They can bend. They're very, very good with their hands. You don't see people move them, and they're a year older. You look at those guys and how much football they've played too. A lot.
You've prepared and faced Mike Sanford-Offense twice, I think, when he was at Boise State and Utah State. Any similarities in what he's trying to do here that maybe he did in those previous years?
Some. I think he's always done a good job of whatever the personnel, being able to adapt and to change. Not only have we looked at the Utah State part of it, we went back and looked at Western Kentucky, looked at Minnesota, and then certainly looked at the first game last week too.
Talked with Chris Herrera last week, and I think he was completely honest in that when he came here, he really just wanted to be a part of the team. Like, he didn't think that he'd ever even see the field. And he said the defensive coaches believed in me in ways that I didn't believe in myself. What did you as a coaching staff see in him at a young player that this guy is going to be a good player and play him early?
Really good athlete, had an awful lot of basketball in his background. Just being able to bend in his ankles and his knees and being able to change direction, that was quite evident. And having a good enough frame that he could add good weight too, because there's no doubt. I mean, just the strength and the power that's helped him confidence-wise too.
How has business on the practice field changed now that you guys have game one under your belt and you guys came away with the big win?
I think each day you still really are going to go approach it, with the intent of to make strides, to make improvement individually and especially collectively, and hopefully that's our approach today. Hopefully that's our approach in 7 weeks too.
How much, if anything, can you take from from the last time you played CU a couple of years ago? How much can you take from that?
Very little, frankly, just because it's a completely different staff. Golly, maybe they're 5, 6 guys that played a good number of snaps in that game at most. And so you're just, so like I said, not much.
Did anything surprise you watching their game against TCU?
He mentioned it. I mean, the power they have in their defensive line, and we thought they were really, really good in watching it. How good they are with their hands, how good they are in the run game, the way they do not get reached, the way they do not get cut. I mean, just how good they are up front, and truly how talented they are. They are very, very skilled offensively, and like I said, I mean, it's just it's just trying to match up here. It's a good sized mountain with a pretty good incline.
Coach, I'm trying to remember, when you went to go coach the Broncos, did you replace Carl Durrell, or was it vice versa?
Yeah, through a couple of staff moves, yeah. I took over for Steve Watson, and Steve Watson became the wide receivers coach when he left. Yes, sir.
I knew there was some. How well do you know him? And
fairly well. Just a ton of respect for him. I mean, obviously, a tremendous coach and just a high-quality human being.
And then, how much do you buy into, and if you see this improvement from week 1 to week 2 when it comes to coaching at college football?
Well, you have to. I mean, for us, I think, the reality is for us, we have to be an evolving, a changing team. And we might be able to stay a little more static if we had a lot more guys returning, and we don't. And you look how many guys last week that truly, that might have been, for a good number of guys first time, maybe they've played 25, 28 snaps in a game. And it's just, we just have to change. We got to grow. And the way you're going to do that is to practice well and keep learning.
You were real complimentary of the Buffs football history as a whole when we were up at Blake Street. Specifically those 2 back-to-back national championship type teams, what pops to mind when they were running for 200, 300 yards a game? What jumps out to you about that?
Well, how many of those guys that were offensive linemen that played in the National Football League? It's extraordinary, really. You go through from about 89 to 94, that 5-6 year stretch, and they had phenomenal backs. You're talking about and slots. Whether it was Flanagan or Bieniemy or Pritchard or Salam, they had some not good players but great players, and they had really, really good quarterbacks. You think of between Hagan and Cordell Stewart. Those guys were about as good as you'd see in college football. And it's ironic. I was watching, I think it was last week, I was watching one of the Big Ten shows on the treadmill one morning, and they were playing Nebraska, and you just, their talent level was incredible. And I think it was reflected in the NFL draft during those years too.
You guys, 10 wins last year, 11 wins a couple years ago. We watched on Saturday. This looks like a really good team. What do you think has been I don't want to say a secret, but getting this thing rolling like it is right now? Is there any common thread that you see that you guys have going?
I think more than anything else, we're game by game and really day by day. I don't know if we had a couple of teams in there that really had a good bit of ability in relation to the academy, quite frankly. And I think we live in reality in the sense that may be rare. For here, you're never going to say it's a continuum or, we're a program where I don't know if you're necessarily arranged over a long haul to do that often, but there can be years where we can be competitive.
Do alums, I guess I should say, how often have alums or guys that you've coached reached out about this game specifically? Are you hearing it? Because most of them didn't get to play the Buffs and probably would have liked to.
Very little, honestly. Unless it was, somebody that played against them in '69. 3 years ago I did. For some of the older guys, it's just, really you look back. I'm trying to think. I think the last time we played here was it was either 70, it might have been 74 was the last time we played here. And really those, I believe the last 5 years we played them from about 70 to 74, I think they won every one of those, and a good number of them were by a very sizable margin. They had some tremendous teams during those years. I want to say one in the early years that might have been Branch, and you go through those years, and so I don't know if it's I don't know if that's as strong as one may think from the outside.
At least in recent years. Yeah.
Right.
When you talk about their defensive front, how effective do you think you can be? Say the defensive front is pretty stout and an inside running game is tough to establish early. Are you as comfortable establishing the run game on the edges and then leading to the inside, or do you think it needs to be vice versa?
God, it's a good question. I don't know. I think you're always kind of poking here or there trying to find out where it may be. There are days where it may be more than just an interior game or more than just a perimeter game. I mean, golly, you just kind of get into it and we'll see. I do think, I think the challenge is can you make some first downs? That'll be hard to do.
You mentioned the new guys. Peyton Zadroik was one of them starting on the defensive front. What can you tell us about him as a player?
Yeah, good lower body strength, good quickness, and a really, really, really good competitor.
Now, were you teammates with his dad?
We were 2 years apart. Yeah, I know his dad quite well.
Okay. What do you see any of him?
His dad I'll tell you, his dad had a ton of heart, was another guy, great competitor, and just the best teammate as a human being.
And so that's another one. We've talked about that before, the number of former players now who have sons on the team. How has that impacted your relationship, with them? Like, do they reach out to you more openly now that they have a son on the team, or are they reluctant to say anything because of that?
No, and I'll say this. I mean, just in general, we're extremely lucky here with the parents that we have. And probably should have shared that even more so, this past Saturday. I mean, just, the moms, dads, or whoever's responsible for raising our guys, it's pretty amazing to have a son or a daughter at the Air Force Academy. And but as far as their communication, they're incredibly respectful, and they never, ever, ever make any kind of suggestive comment in any way about their own son. Now, they love their son, which is pretty cool. That's probably why they have done well. They've had that kind of support at home.
And any update on Zach Larrier or Kyle Patterson?
Kyle did play a little bit, a couple of snaps the other day. And so hopefully we'll practice today. I think there's a good chance he can go for even more snaps this week. We'll see where Zach is. Zach started to do some initial movement yesterday. We'll see where he is for this week. But I think Kyle would.
Do you still consider Zach a quarterback first and foremost?
I don't know if I'm going to put a spot on him. There were times Jordan brought the ball up the floor, even though he might have played off on a wing. I mean, yeah, we'll see.
First time in, I believe, school history that Air Force had 3 runs of 70 or more yards. I think 2 of those 3 came from outside runs. That's kind of your job. So how much pride do you guys take on being able to spring those outside runs?
I mean, it really is. Whenever we run the ball, no matter if it's inside or outside, we take huge pride in it. It's how we've had our success in recent years. I mean, every play, be it a dive up the middle or a sweep to the outside, has so many moving parts. So many people have to do their job right. And then when everything lines perfectly into motion, that's whenever you get that 70-yard play. So you really get a ton of pride as a team and a ton of trust in your teammates that you know that everyone else is going to do exactly what they're supposed to, so I have to too.
And, you're one of the grizzled veterans on this offensive line. So how do you look at your line mates? You spoke to it a little bit there, but how do you feel like the rest of the guys on the line, maybe the guys with less experience, did on Saturday?
I mean, they did awesome still. I mean, we definitely have stuff we still need to work on as an O-line, but really, I'm really happy with how all the guys played. You know, even our new starters, or new starter, I guess, with Wes, he even had a couple starts when I was injured last year. So we have a really experienced O-line compared to where we were last year. And at this point, I feel really confident that I can trust everyone to do their job. I just got to take care of mine.
And when you look at CU, their defensive front is one of the things that a lot of people have keyed on going into the year that should be good, and they're very big. What have you seen from them on film? Did you watch the game against TCU on Friday? What are your first impressions of that defensive front?
You know, they're definitely a very physically talented group. I mean, you simply look at recruited out of high school. I don't know how many of our guys had the offers to CU, you know. So we're going to have to step up and play better. We're going to have to take this as a challenge. We're going to have to make sure that we're able to come together and move them like we should.
And as we all catch up on the diesel stuff, do you guys give away like a hat every week, or how does that work when somebody's on?
We give away a hat whenever someone earns one.
Did anybody earn one on?
Not this past week, because all of our guys had already had previous starts, and we can't really give away an honorary diesel hat to one of the skill players before they've played this year.
Okay, fair enough.
You mentioned having to step up for this week against CU. What does that look like for you after such a dominant win in week 1?
I mean, we've really, like I said earlier, we played well, but there's still a lot of stuff we have to work on. You know, you can always get more movement. You can always seal a block quicker. You can always make the hole wider. You know, so just making those small improvements, playing against a better team this week.
Ryan kind of touched on it, but Coach has talked a lot about a lot of these guys hadn't played a college football game until last week. So how did you see them improve in week 1 and finally get in game action?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Air Force, at least while I've been here, has always had that next man up mentality and always been able to really use that to their benefit. You know, I was in those shoes last year, and for the vast majority of guys, with the training and preparation that we do on the field in practice, the second they step into the game, they're ready. You know, the coaches are good at knowing when someone is ready to play.
From your perspective, what does this game with CU mean to this team? How much is this a rivalry to you guys? How much is this more than just any other game?
It's a game that we really want to win. I mean, I was at CU in 19, and after 45 years, was it, of not playing, it still had the feel of a rivalry game. You know, I mean, there's 3 FBS teams in Colorado, and it's a goal every year to make sure that you're the best, that you own the state. And we get a chance to prove the first leg of that this week. So,
Isaac, what is the criteria to earn one of those hats you're wearing?
Well, typically for an O-lineman, most people usually have to start. And but if you get like serious reps, then you'll also get one. And then for the honoraries, you got to play tough. You got to play hard. You know, you got to put in your full effort every play. You can't just, if you're only putting full effort in when you run the ball, then you're not playing like a diesel.
So it's only the O-line who gets them?
We'll give them to O-line or skill players. Skill players get them whenever they, have really shown that effort.
Is it one of those things where you hand the hats out after the game, or is it during the week? Is there like a ceremony? I mean,
yeah, there's a ceremony that takes place on Friday nights.
Okay. Can you?
I cannot.
No, secret.
Secret.
Top
yes,
secret?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. You mentioned. Did you play in that game in 19?
I did not. I traveled with the team, but I didn't get to play.
And how about for you just getting now you'll get a chance to play in this game, as you mentioned, state bragging rights and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you watch how the older guys play, you watch how they fight, and then you really get to, see what it means to them when you're younger. And now it's my time to really show that to the younger guys now. So it's really important for me to play my best this game, because you don't get too many chances to play an in-state team. I mean, max for us 2 a year, so.
You mentioned not many guys here maybe had CU offers. Who looked at you? Who was recruiting you? Who?
Let's see. I had a half scholarship to William and Mary, a couple non-scholarship offers to Pioneer Football League schools, and almost every school in North Carolina and lots of Virginia. Some South Carolina wanted me to walk on. So, and then I got in contact with the coaches here. They told me to fill out an application away from the team. I got in, and they said that I could join.
Wow. So now you've been here with, I think, an 11-win team, a 10-win team, and you guys now look pretty darn good. What is the secret sauce there? Why do you think you've had this run of success like you have?
I mean, I really think that you look at the work ethic of the guys, you look at the trust that everyone has in each other. And, I mean, I know that when I'm playing, I don't have to worry if the people in the backfield are doing the right job. If I pull, I don't have to worry if Brad hits the right hole. So I completely trust them. They all work incredibly hard in the weight room, on the field, throughout the entire off season. Everyone's just giving it their all. And I really think that that's the secret.
It's a culture thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I assume you guys are aware of the point spread.
It was probably a decent amount from what I've heard from the game. Yeah.
Does it give you confidence, or is it a little bit scary that you would be playing a Power 5 team and be favored by more than 2 touchdowns?
I would say that it's more scary. Whenever you're playing college football, any team can win any week. So every week you have to go out and give it your full effort. The point spread really doesn't affect how we practice here. We've never really had week when we were playing a bad team. Even whenever we played FCS school like last week, everyone gives it their full effort. Everyone takes it seriously. We don't concern ourselves with point spread.
If you guys are struggling to run the ball inside, how do you generally adapt? I saw like Navy last year. It was tough sledding up the middle. How flexible can you be as an offense when that isn't working?
Well, I mean, sometimes we'll just throw it over the top of everyone. But also, our coaches do a great job of calling plays that spread out the defense, that highlight some read or some gap that they might be able to see. And that's really how we spread it out. Against Louisville last year, they were playing cover 0, brought the safety all the way into the box, so he threw it over the top. That safety backed up, and in the second half, we were able to run the ball better. So, our coaches are great at adapting and calling the right plays to either spread out the defense, bring them in, do whatever they need to.
And you mentioned Louisville, and then you played in the Washington State bowl game, right? The Cheez It Bowl?
On special teams, yes,
okay,
sir.
On special teams. Was there a common thread to those games, even just staying on the sideline watching when you've played a Power 5 team that they've all been close? Like what, how does that talent level kind of manifest itself?
Well, I mean, I really think that the difference is, I guess, the work that we put in. I can't speak for the work that other teams do, but I know that the guys on our team work incredibly hard, and we're all able to use that to our advantage. There might not, we didn't have the offers to those schools, so our guys work harder.
I guess when you're pushing a Louisville guy, is it any different than Boise State or other teams you play?
No, I mean, no matter what, you've got to win your one-on-ones. No matter what, you've got to make sure that you're the better man in that fight. So you've got to, you got to play your hardest and win whatever you can. You got to treat every opponent with respect and trust that your teammates will do the same as well.
And what's the communication been like in terms of tickets for this week? Are they at a high demand among the team?
Yeah, there's some of the Colorado guys are needing a ton of tickets. Yeah, this is the game that everyone wants to come and see. So,
so as you kind of get some distance between yourself and the game on Saturday, it seemed like you guys were able to clamp down when you needed to make big plays to keep them from getting in the end zone, but it seems like Northern Iowa was able to move the football a little bit in between the 20s. Did you notice anything, common thread there, or anything that needs to be improved moving forward from you guys?
I think that's a really good question. But for my take on the defensive side, I think a lot of the DBs are really trying to get a feel for the pace of the game for the first, maybe 2 possessions. And maybe that was for everybody on the defense, but I know it definitely was for the DBs. So there was some stuff that we gave up that, looking at the film, we shouldn't have given up. But, learning the speed of the game and people kind of getting acclimated to it, that definitely helped out a lot. So next time we hit the field, we're going to be a little bit more at ease.
Yeah. And when that happens, it's good. You look at defensively, you and Camby are both making big plays. Did you guys take it upon yourselves to say, we got a little bit more experience. We know what this is like. We got to step up and maybe compensate a little bit as some of these younger guys find their way?
So regarding that, I think we did a good job of doing our jobs. But I think the biggest thing is still developing, the people who are coming right after us. The twos got in, and there were some things that, shouldn't have happened, just like if the ones would have done it, it shouldn't have happened. So I think the biggest thing is their development. I think we did a pretty good job getting the ones together and getting back into the game mentally. But yeah, I think the biggest thing comes with the people who come in and, if one of us goes down.
When you go up against a team that could employ 2 different quarterbacks with kind of different skill sets, does that up the amount of homework you have, or do you split it? How do you go about preparing for both of the quarterbacks that CU might throw at you guys?
It definitely ups it. I know Brendan, he has, good tendencies that are able to pick up on. Strout is a good quarterback. Not as mobile, though. So, just diagnosing both of their films, it's going to give us the ability to attack whichever one they put in the game.
Brendan Lewis have a tell? You got to tell? You know something?
We're still doing some research on him, but I played with him since I was 6 years old, so I kind of know a little bit about him. So I'm gonna bring that to the field on Saturday.
And do you guys? Is it at just the extent of that you used to know each other? Do you talk? Have you talked at all since both of you have been in college or anything like that?
Definitely talked since we've been in college, but this week, of course, you got to shut that down.
Yeah, radio silence.
Yeah.
After the game, maybe?
After the game, yeah, we'll take a picture, but it'll be me smiling.
Yeah, and one other thing, you talk about the pace of the game. Going up against a Pac-12 school, do you think that the pace and the speed of the game goes up even further for you guys in the secondary, going from Northern Iowa to CU?
Honestly, no. I think the UNI receivers actually give us a really good look regarding speed. I think they were lacking some size that Colorado might have. But whenever it comes to speed and getting out of routes and being able to cover down on comebacks and digs and stuff like that, it gave us a really good look on some of the best receivers speed-wise that we're going to play this year. So they did a good job with that.
Did anything surprise you on Saturday about this Falcon team? Anyone or anything?
Not really. I kind of knew what we had. I'm glad the offense did what they did. That gave me a lot more confidence, I guess, in the team overall, because I don't see them on an everyday basis. So that was a big confidence builder. But for the defense, causing turnovers and tackling the way that we did, that's just our mantra. That's what we're supposed to do. So going into the game, I kind of expected us to do what we were supposed to. We did.
Isaac mentioned this game against CU as the first leg to being the best team in Colorado. How much does this game mean to you compared to every other game on the schedule?
I just feel like it's the next game, honestly, for me. My big thing is taking it game by game. So we get 1-0 this week, and then the next week go 1-0, the next week go 1-0 until we finally get to Colorado State, and that's going to address whether we're the king or not. But after this is going to be going to Wyoming. So it's definitely a big game for us, but, just taking it one by one.
Let's try that again. You don't mean that, do you? I could tell you had a little smirk on your face when you answered the question. That's why I asked. No, from a state bragging rights, though, I mean, it's something you want to be considered the top college program here in the state. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. So being real, when I was a freshman, I honestly, getting into the system and the culture, I didn't realize how big of a deal that was. But being able to see, the people who came before me and how much it meant to them, that kind of got me in tune that we have to be, the best in the state. So it's just one of those things where, the legacy lives on. We got to do what we got to do.
Well, you mentioned your friendship with Brandon. Was it one of those things maybe over the summer there was a little trash talking, or?
Not really. We've never had like a trash talking relationship. That might change in the game a little bit when we play against each other, but no, it's been mutually productive. But he's a good talent. They have a good team. So we both know that we have a lot of film and a lot of things that we need to watch to be able to compete against each other.
Was CU ever interested in you at all, or?
Yeah, they didn't recruit me.
Okay, is that any fuel for you, or do you not care?
Every single game for me. Teams didn't recruit me. Like, you're gonna get my best. I'm gonna show you why. And it's like that for a lot of players on the team. I'm gonna show you why. You made a mistake not giving us.
Who else looked at you? Who did recruit you?
There were a lot of teams that recruited me, mostly Ivy Leagues. They had like UNT, Liberty, kind of smaller schools that didn't see fitting me for academics.
Mm-hmm. You said earlier that you knew what you had on defensively. What is it you have? What do you think you have here?
Honestly, I think we have a defense that we haven't had in a long time. People left that were huge in our team that, is extremely hard to replace, that we're still trying to replace right now. But when it comes to the depth that we have, I feel comfortable with, our twos, getting in the game and having the same production level that the ones have. And I haven't seen that in a while.
This is kind of a broad question, but you've been a part of a lot of winning here. Isaac's been a part of 10-win, 11-win, and this team looks like it could be that again. What's that secret sauce? What's going on here that has this program kind of rolling like it is?
I think it's truly the culture of the team. We haven't had the people that came in this year to the team. We as a unit kind of took them in and showed them, displayed to them how things are supposed to be done. And I think we did a really good job with that. So whenever it comes to the seniors, juniors, freshmen, sophomores, whoever it is, we all have really similar outlooks on what needs to get done and the season. And a lot of teams, it's not the way it is. There's a lot of teams, there's selfishness, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and that's going to happen with anybody. But I think the brotherhood that we have here is special, and that's what makes us different.
You see that continuing, and you got some time left, but you see that continuing now in the next 4, 5, 6 years.
For sure. We're building something now that, was built. I saw, my freshman year, I got brought into it, that, we just want to repeat every year, even when we're gone. I want the people who are coming that right now are sophomores, whenever I leave, to be seniors. I want them to be doing the same thing, bringing the people in, showing them the ropes, and then, they bring it on to whenever they graduate.
Who was that for you?
That was Gerard Sanders for me my freshman year, and then Trey Bugg and Jordan Jackson when Gerard left.
It's a pretty good group.
So what is the background of this relationship with Lewis from CU? Like, were you teammates or?
Yeah, so Little League teammates. We split off, of course, in middle school and high school, but our families have always been real close.
Did you ever play against each other?
We never played against each other. No, this will be the first time.
And you kind of alluded to sort of a chip on the shoulder. I think most, it always goes level by level. I'm sure FCS players feel the same about your program feels the same about Power 5. Is it even more so for you having a dad who played at the Power 5 level?
That's a real good question. I think that having a dad that played at that level, I think that helped me a lot, but I didn't think it caused any spite with me. I got recruited to a few Power 5 programs, but they weren't where I thought the Air Force could provide for me. So there's no spite in it, but I know that every game, if somebody wasn't looking at me or didn't give me the time of day or was recruiting me and stopped recruiting me, of course there's always going to be a little chip on your shoulder that's like, you got to bring it to you. That's going to happen with any game I play in, but it's almost even more revved up in that regard.
And when you look back to playing Louisville, the only Power 5, you didn't play in those games in 19 as a freshman, right? Because you did. You took a turn back in 20, right? So you were on the team. Was there a noticeable difference in talent, or was it more or less similar to what you saw in Nevada or Boise or some of those teams?
I honestly see, by position, some more skill in the Mountain West. But the Pac-12, of course, they have a lot of speed. The offense, they love to throw the ball. But in regard to the overall team, I would feel like we are put into more competition against, the Boise States and the Utah States in comparison to the Colorados and the Washington States that we played. So.
And then looking back to last week, how vanilla was that, game plan? Is what we saw from you guys kind of not really indicative of what you're going to normally do?
I think a little bit of that is up to Coach Noor, but we put in a few checks that are pretty broad that's going to apply to any game that we play. So I think that last week was more of a tune-up to get to build up to when we're playing Week 12. We're at the top. We're the best that we're going to be playing, that we know all the checks that need to be made, whether it's formation adjustments or whatever. But whether it was vanilla, it wasn't really vanilla. We have a bunch of stuff that we were already working on spring that we brought about into the game. But we had a bunch of good calls that were given on the sideline that, I honestly didn't expect we were going to play. So it was a good look game plan.
Is your volume of tackles at all a concern? Usually you don't want your safety to be your leading tackler, and you were last year and you are at this point this year.
This is not really a concern for me, honestly. I love being in the run fit. So, I got to be a little bit more cautious of how fast I'm getting into the run fit. But, I see as soon as I see my key block, I'm fitting straight down. So I think that part of it is just my love of tackling. But we're getting everything straight in the front seven and also the back four. So we're going to be stronger and stronger and stronger. By the time that we hit Week 12, like I said, we're going to be really powerful.
So it's not a sign reflecting on the defense. It's just the way you're playing it.
So if Trey Taylor and Brendan Lewis were on the same Little League team, how good is that Little League team?
Really good Little League team. We had a lot of people on that Little League team, actually. We had Theo Weiss from Oklahoma. We have people from all over the place. A lot of people doing some big things now, so it's really cool to see the talent spread out. But yeah, we had a super powerhouse.
So you got some trophies from those days.
Oh yeah.
And your parents probably have them still.
Still got my room.
Yeah. What year would that have been then?
That would have been 2010 to 2013.
I feel old now.